And we're back. We're with the Philco 37640 tri-band radio. And we're going to talk a little bit about the restoration progress and the direction I'm going with it. Some of you may not realize or may have not seen previous videos on this radio, but this was a radio that I acquired from the estate of a good friend who recently passed away. And his wife was trying to, or now widow, was trying to clean out his shop so that she can do what she wants with it. It's a lovely shop, enormous, with all the amenities, heat, AC, everything. So she wants to use that space to its fullest potential. And unfortunately, it was stacked to the ceiling with all kinds of cool stuff. So I acquired this radio in 3 trips. So what happened was I first got the box. And I couldn't find the chassis, and she didn't know what it was, so I couldn't say, hey, if you see this, let me know. It wasn't until almost a year later, when she started putting stuff out for a yard sale, that I swung by and I saw the chassis fully disassembled in a box. And you can see the video of the reassembly on my channel if you just search a few videos back. So I grabbed the chassis, brought it home, once I realized what it was, or what it was for. And I put it all back together again. And unfortunately, I was missing one part, and that was the grill backer board and grill cloth. I couldn't find one on eBay. I went all over the web. I could not find one for this radio model. But anyway, fast forward a little bit, and I went back to her house to pick up another item that I had asked if I could have, and she said, oh, by the way, I found something that you might be interested in. I was going to just throw it away, but I figured I should ask you before. I'm like, well, what is it? And she hands me this. How the hell she knew what this was, I don't know. She didn't know what it was. She just thought I might like it, because she saw me take the little box of grill cloth that he had, and it had, by the way, it had this attached to it. We'll talk about that in a minute. And she saw that it had grill cloth on it. And she's like, I thought you might want it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Thank you very much. So this is the original grill cloth backer board. If you put it on the front, it looks like a monster or like a sci-fi character. Radio man, I don't know. Anyway, so she hands me this, and that just made my day. I completely forgot what I went there for originally. In fact, I don't think I will ever bother with that, whatever it was. Anyway, it wasn't that important. So I got the original backer board. I was actually going to have to make one, invent one, because I don't have a template. I don't have any drawings of what it would look like. There's just nothing out there, so thank God for that. Yeah, so I took the advice of a few of my viewers, and I contacted Bob Anderson of bandersentv, and he made my day as well, actually. He's offered to, for the cost of parts and shipping, actually try to restore the original chassis. Now, the chassis was mostly complete. The only issue was there were a few caps that still needed to be replaced, and there's a few things about the chassis that I'm not quite sure about. And the only 2 radio guys I know have passed away, so I'm not an electronics guy, really. I mean, I can muddle my way through some basic repairs. I can recap a radio in a CRT chassis, as I've already done. In fact, this old GE was my first radio restoration, and it works just fine. So where was I going with this? I didn't want to mess with a potentially very valuable radio. In fact, the 37640 is a very valuable radio in its restored state. So I didn't want to really screw with it too much. You got to know your limits, and if the risks are greater than the benefit, it's just not worth it. So I contacted Bob, and I did send the chassis out to him. and cost me a fortune, but I think it's worth it. If anyone can do it, I think he can do it, because I've seen some of his videos, and I suggest you do the same. bandersentv. The guy knows his stuff, and he's going to make his own video series. So if you want to see the restoration of the chassis, I suggest you go over to his channel. Check back maybe in a week or so. I don't know when he'll start the project. I'm not rushing him, so in fact, I don't expect it back anytime soon, which gives me plenty of time to worry about what I'm going to do with the box. So once again, Bob Anderson, B Anderson TV. Great guy, knows his stuff. In fact, I wish I had contacted him when I had my Motorola, my 1950 Motorola television, the one that's featured on my on the header of my my YouTube page, which is, I don't even know where it is now. It's somewhere in Nashua, New Hampshire, as last I knew. But I traded some old clocks for it many years ago, and I never got a chance to try to recap it and get it going again. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, well, this mess. So I thought, see, this is the original cloth. This is from 1937. It's been exposed to the elements. It's been exposed to age, dust, cigar smoke, God only knows what. And it had no rips or tears or anything. The only thing that was wrong with it was that it was a little dirty. And it was coming off the backer board. You can see the adhesive was giving away. Well, the ever resourceful me thought I would be smart, and I took it off, didn't take much, and I dropped it in a pot of boiling water with a little bit of OxyClean, thinking if anything is going to clean it, OxyClean. You know, it's not the only white powder that Billy Mays was fond of. Anyway, so I dropped it in a pot of boiling water. I stirred it around. The water turned brown. It was gross. I dumped it out. And I rinsed this out, and I'm like, something doesn't look right. It actually shrank just a little bit. But it shrank. It no longer lines up with the holes, and it's a mess, and screw it. So I'm like gently trying to stretch it. I'm like, what am I going to do now? And I tore the damn thing right there. Oh. Well, I thought it would be nice to have the original grill cloth cleaned up. You know, it wasn't torn, didn't have anything wrong with it. Screwed that up. So here's the this is the original cloth. Now, the good news is you can buy radio grill cloth anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but you can go online. It's all over the place. It's not cheap. I think it's like $22 a square foot or something like that. It's not the cheapest material, but it's woven. So, I mean, this was made in a weaving loom, much like this original stuff, the new stuff has been. Actually, I've got some new stuff right here. Let's talk about that. This was in the mess of stuff that John had, that I had acquired. I love this grill cloth right here. This is what was in this box. But just this little remnant piece. Unfortunately, it's not enough to do a whole grill, no matter how you slice it. I would have to slice it, which is something I'm not willing to do. But I could actually piece it together maybe and make it work. Maybe not. But I love it. But I'm going to stick with something original, as close to this as I can, which is kind of a monotonous gold appearance. But I also have this. Now, I have enough of this to do the whole radio, but it's nothing even remotely like what was originally installed, and I wanted to have something close to its original appearance. You know, just my thought there. Now, also, in this box, I found some decals. Now, I don't own an RCA Victor, and this radio, I believe, has the Philco decal built into the face, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But I've got Philco decals. And I've got these, I don't know what radio he bought these for, but I do have them. These are reproduction decals. And then in this box, there's just some index cards. I've never actually taken these out. There could be like $1 million back. Well, $1 million is a bit of a stretch, but there could be anything in this box. Let's take the rest of these cards out. Come on. Oh my God. Wow. It's empty. Alright. So there's that. I'm going to keep these little remnants. Maybe I'll use them for some project. God only knows. So, I'll talk a little bit about the face of the radio. Now you can see it's been sanded smooth. This was, I believe John may have done this. He did start taking it apart, so maybe he's the one who sanded the face. Took the original decal off. Philco had this ingenious idea to do a fake wood grain, like an inlaid wood grain type decal over the face of the radio. And undoubtedly it looked beautiful when it was new. Sadly, that is gone. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a reproduction decal. They are available. They're about 40 some odd dollars. And once I have the decal in my possession, I'll start refinishing the rest of the cabinet to match the new decal so that the stain color is, you know, good. It looks like it may have already been re-stained once. I mean, there's no way this is the original finish. In fact, you can see a few imperfections. So this was refinished at some point in its life, but from being jostled around and stored in a garage and whatnot, the finish is a little ruined. I'm going to probably throw in a little bit of wood filler back there. A dark stained wood filler so that it blends in. But once I get the decal, I'll know what color stain to buy. I'll try to color match it as much as possible. I don't know what color it was. I don't know if it was a dark mahogany or if it was like this, you know, light, what is that, oak? Yeah, kind of like an oak appearance. So, yeah, I don't know what it was color matched to. So, but it looks like this might be some of the original finish here. It's kind of hard to tell. But somebody did put some work into this, but not a lot. I also want to reinforce the radio itself. What I'm going to do is once the chassis is in place, I'm going to size it up for maybe some wood blocking. Look at how aged the wood is in this thing. It's incredibly aged. It's complete, thank God, but it is aged. It almost has the look of that old clock that I restored when I had it apart. The wood just had a very old, rough cut look to it. You know, like this is never supposed to be seen by human eyes. It's the inside of the unit. I don't think it ever had a backing at all. I believe these old radios did not actually have backings, which would make sense. There would be no need for it back in those days when the radios were intended to be serviceable by the owner. A lot has changed. It's no longer the case. These blocks were actually glued in at some point. I don't like the gluing job that was done. It could have been a previous owner. It could have been anybody that did that. I am missing all of the chassis screws that screw it to the box. I'll have to go to the hardware store and find something. But you can clearly see that the wood is delaminating right here. I have a possible solution for that. That's classified. No, really. Actually, what I'm going to do is probably a cardinal sin. I'm thinking of getting some small L brackets with countersunk screws and actually reinforcing. Because here's why. When the chassis is in and somebody bumps up against the radio housing, it flexes quite a bit. And I'm afraid that this is actually going to start weakening out. I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to start splitting apart. So I may reinforce it with L brackets. Just little ones. Just enough to give it some support. Stiffen the box up a little bit. Because it's kind of weak. I'm talking really short screws, like 1/4 inch. Maybe even smaller if I can find anything smaller. But so that's it for now. That's the future plans and progress of the Philco restoration. Once again, I'll plug his channel, bandersentv. Good man. He's going to really, hopefully, and I don't have my hopes up too high because that radio chassis was messed with by a lot of people over the years, and I'm just hoping you can get it going again. All 3 bands. I want it to be. I want to actually sit up my deck and listen to shortwave radio with it. That'd be kind of neat. I have perfect clear sight to the sky, so I think that'll be awesome. But living up in the mountains, that's one of the few benefits I have out here. In fact, this old radio will receive broadcast, I believe, all the way as far as Maryland. I've actually gotten Canadian broadcasts with it. Let's see what we can get tonight. So I've got a lot of projects on the burner here. My house is starting to look a little bit like my shop at work. I've got 100 different things going on over there too. I'm never bored. That's a true statement. So let's see if this old thing fires up. Put a lot of work into this one. John actually helped me restore this radio. He gave me the moral support and advice I needed to get it all done. Which is very kind of him.
Sunday. Some AP Radio News. This is Bloomberg Best. Bloomberg Best is about the insight and the context that we get from our guests.
Top-notch, value-added, hot-off-the-presses news.
Bloomberg puts out thousands of news stories a day, but some really stick with you.
It's a great way to catch up on some of the stories you might have missed on the Bloomberg.
Stories you're not going to find in any other news organization. Bloomberg Best. Bloomberg's best stories of the day from over 150 news bureaus around the world.
I'm June Grosso.
And I'm Doug Prisner on this edition of Bloomberg Best.
Apple Music launches today. That's the news subscription.
This is a 1951 Motorola. No, I'm sorry, it's a GE. My bad. It's a GE. 1951. Oh, wow. Outer space. It's aliens.
Modifying it somehow. What I guess I've been working on, and I said it earlier, is, I think that we're commanded by God, ultimately.
Well, thanks for watching. And stay tuned for more progress on the old film. Mexico. This station is actually based out of New York City, 1010 WINS. So